It's the Roller Multi-Barrel Vintage Baseball Podcast coming to you from coast to coast, border to border, talking to vintage baseball players as we do, and as we've done for over 4 years now. Wow, who would have thought this little thing that started in my basement, that's still in my basement, that hasn't grown at all, would still exist? I know, it's kooky. But tonight we get to travel to one of my favorite areas to talk vintage baseball. New York never has to worry about me ignoring them. And we have a treat tonight as we get to talk about a newer vintage club that was an older vintage club that I don't even know if they were old vintage. We're going to find out about the entire history of the Kingston Guards, which I know nothing about. Well, that's not true. I just kind of said I kind of did. Welcome, Jeff Kozlowski, Cougar. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, good to be back. Good to see you still in the basement. I've at least moved. I've moved myself up to the office, which is more or less the harbor of misfit everything's in my house. But we make do
Was
with what
that
we
a
got.
promotion for the show? Did you promote the show from wherever it was you were doing the show from? Is it now in a more executive situation?
Well, I have four walls now. It was in our dining room, uh, but I got too tired of like every so often I'd have to mute the microphone because every hour little while I'd hear, "Daddy, let me show you my cartwheels. Daddy, are you still talking about the baseball game?" But shut up, child. So now I've got a door.
So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you the question we're all dying to hear the answer to before we bring in our guest. Rate the cartwheels.
Oh my God. So she actually makes me do this too. Bear in mind, my daughter is surprisingly good at cartwheels. Um, but yeah, she's a solid little gymnast there. I give her all the credit. She loves doing them too.
That's great dad speak. I want a score 1 to 10. I don't want, do not score with emotion. I want a
Okay.
real score. She's not going to hear this. She's not there.
Right. That's true. So, in all truth, she keeps her back straight. She's got good core strength, a good core posture. I give her a 9, not a 10, because she doesn't finish right. She doesn't present at the end, and we tell her all the time. And kids today, they just don't listen. So
There's no way you can give that child a 9 if you say the finish isn't correct. The finish is everything, Jeff. Your scoring method is appalling to me.
it's
Coming into the
not.
room right coming into the room from New York, it's a couple of gentlemen from the Kingston Guards. We have Taylor Bruck, otherwise known as Scooch, over on the couch, and we have Drew Dutch Vreeland, otherwise known as Put Your Finger in the Dike, little boy. I don't know. We didn't discuss. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on to the show.
Anytime. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You guys can agree that in gymnastics, the finish is everything, right?
If
You
got
gotta
to
stick the landing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dutch.
She
gotta-
sticks the landing. It's the
No.
presentation at the end. That's the problem I have.
Hence the 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It sounds like a 7-5 situation to me at best. So it looks like we're adding 1.5 daddy score. Okay. Taylor Bruck, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
You sure are.
That's because I'm a professional and I didn't ask you ahead of time. So I'm glad I didn't embarrass myself. Taylor, are you the captain of the Kingston Guards?
I am.
So far, so good. How am I doing? Yes. Okay. Taylor, from what I understand about the Kingston Guards is you guys have started back up a club that already existed a few years ago, a handful of years ago. So there was a start, stop, start back up. Tell us about the history of the reincarnation of the Kingston Guards.
So my understanding is that there was a team that I think only played one game, maybe probably close to 10 years ago now. They might have played two, but it wasn't consistent. And it was a bunch of guys from a local brewery, Keegan's, and they're a group of softball guys. They played one game that I know of, and then they never did it again. So when we started the team back up, this will be our third year. So 3 years ago, when we started it back up, we reached out to those guys for some tips and so on. But none of the original players had the time to join. So it almost sounds like we stole a team, but it didn't officially exist at the time. So for all intents and purposes, we're a new team. And I don't know if they even had a
So
name.
okay, so you can't. Okay, for legal purposes out there in the world, and Jeff Kozlowski might be able to help me on this. I think anybody can steal any vintage baseball club except for a very short number of people who have registered or are with a business. I believe if you're with a business like the Greenfield Village Lottie Does, like nobody could steal that, or there'd be paperwork sent your way. But say I don't know, the Lumber City Club from Flint, Michigan, I'm pretty sure anybody could come along and steal that. I'm not saying I just use that as an example, but you can't really do anything about it. Nobody owns anything. So somebody could come along and actually start another club called the Kingston Guards, and you guys couldn't do anything about it. Nah, I'm just talking legally speak.
Well, we are legit now. We're part of the Vintage Baseball Association and have sponsors and a bank account through our local Rotary Club and so on. So it would be more of a task. We certainly have an infrastructure now that didn't exist before, and thankfully it's been successful.
Yeah, I think once you
So is this
register in with the VBBA, I think you're in good shape there. Or if you're a registered 501c3 nonprofit.
yes? Once you're the nonprofit, I believe is what would
You've made
classify
it.
you as you've made it. I don't think of just having a relationship with the VBBA and getting a felt pennant. I don't think that makes you legit. But anyway, anyway,
Don't tell the
we
VBBA that. Don't tell the VBBA.
The arbiter of
I'm
legitness.
I'm only speaking legalese. I watch Suits on Netflix. I know things. Listen, to continue angelfish talk. What kind of angelfish you got in your tank, Taylor?
That's Dutch's
It's
angelfish. I got
Drew.
no
Oh,
fish.
that's
It's
my wheelhouse
it's
there. It's a common angelfish. Started off about quarter size, and now I'd say it's a little bit bigger than a average man's palm. And like I said, he was kind of a hand-me-down because he was a bit of a troublemaker in his old tank. So I had to rehome him, and now he's where he belongs.
Drew. Yeah, sorry, I had you mixed up with Taylor there. Drew with the angelfish. Jeff has acquired great knowledge passed on from generation to
Vast.
generation about angelfish.
Vast.
And I want Jeff, I want you to ask Drew a question about angelfish that only
We're
people who
doing
know
fish talk.
angelfish would know.
Oh.
Yes, official angelfish talk. Talk angelfish right now for 30 seconds, Jeff. Go.
All right. So the base question is like, well, you mentioned, but where does the angelfish come from? Is it from a breeder? Do you get it from a private person, or do you get it from a pet store?
I got it from the local fish store.
Okay. Okay.
I
So
don't think
tell
I
me
know
about
any. I don't think I know any breeders of angelfish personally.
15
that
seconds to go. Keep going.
That
Tell me about
if I know any angelfish breeders, they're keeping that well to themselves.
uh what kind of landscaping do you got in there? Are you a gravel guy? Are you a sand guy?
Gravel guy, I like to go natural colors, earth tones. Don't ever go to that neon garbage. I think that looks silly in just about any environment.
My
Skew
man.
towards
Time.
a natural. Oh, we have a call there.
Man, I was
Just getting warmed up.
Time. You saved the best question for the end, Jeff. You should have let off with that one. He had a lot to talk about on that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Drew, we're going to get back to you about baseball right here in a second. But Taylor, I want to know how you came across vintage baseball and what made you dedicate your time, your effort into starting this program up.
You know, it was really the Delaware County guys. So there's a huge vintage baseball scene in the county right next to us, to the west, which is Delaware County. They've got the Bovina Dairymen, the Mountain Athletic Club, the Delhi Polecats. So we started seeing them playing games kind of all around the Hudson Valley. And I'm the city of Kingston historian as well. So I've always had an interest in history. My grandfather was a pitcher. He was drafted by the Yankees, grew up playing baseball, and thought, what a cool mix of sports and history. You don't see this really with other sports. No one's playing vintage basketball or football. And we've got such a great baseball history in Kingston that we got in touch with the Delaware County guys. They told us what we needed to do to get started. They really kind of been a huge help for not just us, but the Saugerties vintage baseball team as well that started last year. They've been able to answer any questions we've had, and yeah, the hard part's getting the guys to show up. The idea exists. Luckily, there's people that make the equipment. We've got fields to play in, and so we just said, why not? Let's give it a shot.
So let's get into
You guys-
recruitment. Sorry, Matt.
I would just like to say,
I'm still trying to work the co-hosting thing. My timing is off. I'm sorry.
No, that's all
man.
right. I was just going to. So Jeff, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to comment on his answer, and then we're going to move over to Drew and ask him a baseball question, and then it's going to be your turn. You wait your damn turn. You got to talk so much last week. Okay.
I'm super psyched about angelfish, and now I'm warm and ready. So. All right.
So Taylor, you're talking about the clubs in Delaware, the Delaware County Association, whatever it's called. Colin Miller, you are familiar with Colin. I believe any club that comes in contact with Colin is already ahead of the game. When you have him on your side, you are farther ahead than most clubs that try to start up. So what an incredible person, gentleman, ball player, resource Colin is. And so you guys definitely have this umbrella of goodness over you that you probably enjoy very much. Drew, please tell everybody how you came across vintage baseball and being part of Kingston.
I'd be happy to. I don't want to put the cart before the horse there, but I know you mentioned recruitment, and I've heard a couple of episodes of your show before, and I know your suggested policy on recruitment. And if that's something that you want to talk about a little later, I'd just like to say I support it 100%, and I would like to try it out myself. But the way I came into this whole organization was through Taylor. We have pretty significant overlap in our circle of friends and acquaintances here in Kingston. It's kind of a small town vibe. And when I found out that this was happening, I knew it was immediately something that I had to be a part of. It sounded like a lot of fun. Coincidentally, my grandfather was also a pitcher drafted by the Washington Senators in the 50s. So Taylor and I both come from a line of baseballers. And we've got a good group of guys that really enjoy what they do, and they like to show up and have a good time. As you said, the other teams in the association, the Delaware guys, they've been great shepherding us into this whole thing. Definitely, Andrew and Delhi and the guys on the MAC and Bovina, and we have a good time. Nice friendly rivalry with Saugerties too. So it's really a great way, I think, to bring the town together. People really enjoy themselves to spectate the games, and it's a good way to involve myself in the community.
Yeah, Drew, you brought up recruitment here, and this is something odd that's about to happen is Jeff Kozlowski is about to ask you guys about recruitment, and we're going to have this discussion about recruitment. But Jeff and I have never had a discussion about recruitment, so I have no idea what his take on this is, what his ideas are, and so this will be interesting for all of us. Jeff, take it away.
All right. So, I mean, it's a theme that I know comes up on the show quite a bit, even before I have this, luxurious title of co-host of like, how do you? It's not just how do you get the players for that one time, but how do you keep them coming back here? So let's start with how do you get them there? Okay, how do you get potential players to your home field?
Yeah, we actually took a unique tack that in the first year was tough. So, really early on, word of mouth, we asked friends of ours to ask friends of theirs and so on. And what happened with my title as historian and my day job, I worked for the county clerk's office. I was the archivist at the time. So, I knew a lot of history people. And we got a number of people that were interested just because of history. And it was great. We were able to field a team, but we got squashed by every team we played because they've got baseball players on their team and we had history people. So in order to get some baseball people, we made some flyers, posted some flyers up. We've had success like collaborating, contacting with our local softball teams. We've got a really good like softball community here in Ulster County, and we got a few guys the first year from the softball ranks and told them to kind of circulate flyers and info about the team. We reached out to a number of our local like service organizations like Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, so on, to just like introduce the team to them at their monthly breakfast meetings or something like that. So we did a lot of kind of public speaking engagements the first year or two, just to introduce ourselves to the community. We gave a talk at like the Regional Chamber of Commerce to try to get business people involved for sponsorships, and they brought in some more players, folks that worked with them or so on. Um, so we're still kind of trying to figure it out. This year we had like a nice ad made up and did some targeted advertising through Facebook that has been very successful. We'll see how many people stick around, but we've got about 20 new guys interested that we're having a Zoom call on
Nice.
Thursday to tell them the rules, but um, how to keep them. It's really, in the last few years at least, they need to be into it. You're either into it or not. So some of the softball guys started and they said, I take softball so seriously that I can't afford to play games with no gloves and risk hurting my hand. Or I'm a guitar player and after the first few games, my hands hurt and can't do it. So it's really just been luck of the draw so far. But the guys that are into it stick around without any additional coaxing. You catch the bug or you don't.
Taylor, remind me how many years Kingston has been a club under your supervision.
2 years that we're going into our third season.
Okay. So Drew, go ahead, Matt.
I just wanted to add a comment. If you are a guitar player and you're worried about hurting your fingers, you know what? I can understand. I can understand that because music is a beautiful thing, and it's not just beautiful for you. It's wonderful for all of those around you. And I love music. The world loves music. So please, if you feel like it's going to affect your ability to play, don't play. But if you take softball too seriously to play vintage baseball, I'm going to ask you to stop listening to this show. I need you to turn off. Please hit stop. Please never listen to another episode of this show. I hate you. I don't like you. I don't like your family. I don't like your teachers you had in high school. I think all of the pets you've ever had are stupid.
Oof.
They're all stupid.
Hate.
Your third favorite color is the dumbest color that's ever existed. I don't care about you or your third girlfriend you had. Never, never listen to this again. Back to you, Jeff.
I would also like to say that I too am a guitar player, but that doesn't keep me off the field.
Well, this is
Well,
kind of how I got the nickname Scooch. The guitar player was the shortstop, and we've been trying to get him back. So we said, all right, I played shortstop all year last year. I said, I'll play wherever you need. Go in the outfield. We need your bat. If you're scared of catching line drives, just stand back a little further. Come on, figure it out.
so
Yes, you have to
I mean,
relearn how to play baseball. Jeff, take it away.
yeah, yeah. Noel, now that the hate has flown through our veins,
Ah, it feels so good.
uh, Drew, let me ask you, kind of in connecting to that point there. Tell me about softball guy. How is that transition? Either from you transitioning baseball to vintage baseball or softball to vintage baseball, and then watching other people try to transition from softball to vintage baseball. What are their struggles, or what are their gifts, or how much do you nurture before you're like, you know what, guys got to go?
Those are good questions, and I would like to clarify that I am not softball guy. I was little league guy for a very long time, and no baseball guy for an even longer time until we picked this back up. But seeing the guys that come from a softball background, obviously there's an athleticism there and a knowledge of just the mechanics of the game and the fundamentals of how your body is supposed to move when you're playing the sport, and how to fulfill a role on a team. There could be some issues with the pacing, maybe. They might be used to something that moves a little faster or reacts a little quicker. But for the most part, the guys that we get from softball have served as great as pitchers. We like to typically abide by the 1864 underhand rule set. So, without the windmill windup, some of those guys that come from a softball background can really get it in there. And, it's like Taylor was saying, you're either in or you're out, and you find out pretty quick. And it's either similar enough but different that the skills can translate, or it's just not their bag, and thanks for trying. Have fun at softball, I guess.
The softball guys seem to get under the ball a little more. They're trying to hit home runs, and a lot of the places we play don't have fences. And because we're playing the 1860s rules and can catch it on a bounce, they're hitting them good, they're cranking them, and they're all outs. So it takes some getting used to for them to like hit line drives, run the bases. A lot of them too are used to like not stealing, not running
Yeah.
bases. So there's a lot more running in what we play than what they're used to in softball. But we've had a lot of luck with them.
There's definitely an adjustment that has to be made by the big hitters, and if they're used to being big hitters, they immediately hate the bound rule. They hate it, and it's a matter of, do they quit, or are they good enough to adjust, or are they intrigued by the competitiveness of having to adjust that keeps them. But I've definitely seen some big softball hitters that come and play a bound game and say, well, this is dumb, I'll never do anything in this, and they don't come back. So that is a hurdle. However, it was around first. So the way that big hitter softball guy plays is dumb. Back to you, Jeff.
Yeah, but we mean, so I guess kind of connecting to that point there is, how do you handle, because you mentioned 64, that is your guys' rule set. Okay, so has there ever been that itch, or that desire to maybe try a 65 or a 67, 69, 73, 83? Or how often do you play those games? Because I know you travel a lot more than some of us here in the Midwest do. What's your experiences outside of 64?
We don't have the overhand pitchers generally to compete with the Delaware County crew. They they've got some, college pitchers. They had a couple minor leaguers. One of their players is a coach on the Israeli Olympic team. Like they've got players, and we've got mostly historians and like people that like to have fun, play some softball, but not like very competitive baseball players. So we usually play like 1 or 2 games a year with 1880s rules overhand, but it's extremely difficult. It requires a higher caliber of play that, frankly, we're not there yet. Nor do a lot of our guys want to be. It takes a lot more practice. It's scarier. Maybe someday if we pick up some good prospects, but last year we tried to say let's just stick to what we know, what is fun, and what we're getting pretty good at, and then we'll try to go from there.
And there's no shortness of bound teams on the East Coast. Plenty of bound teams, so you don't run into an issue of playing. One of the complaints of one of our other co-hosts, Rudy Frias, is, as he's the captain of the Columbus, Ohio Capitals, is there a 67 fly team in a state that primarily plays bound. Now, things have changed in the last couple of years, and there have been more fly teams that have come up. But for most of their existence, playing fly teams has it's been scarce, and they've had to do a lot more traveling to the state of Michigan that they really wanted to do to maximize that fly game concept. You guys don't have that issue. How many different teams would you say you guys are scheduling right now during the season?
I think we've got five to six, depending on if we go into Connecticut. But now we've got another team in the county with us, just 10 minutes north. So we're playing the Saugerties vintage team like 3 times this year at 3 different locations. So we're very evenly matched with them. And instead of playing a lot of different teams, because traveling is really hard, and right now we have a squad of like 11 guys, which for any single game, a number of them can't make it. So last season rather, every game we played with 8 guys because there was always at least 3 that couldn't make it. So we're trying to sort of travel less until we get a larger roster of people. But just within, an hour and a half drive, we've got 4 different teams to play, which is nice.
And we've definitely had to get creative with our roster at times. We've had parents, we've had wives, suit up and take the field and fill a position if they need to. So just because we might not have a full team on paper doesn't mean we don't have a full field.
Fans, we pulled a guy out of the fans in a game against Colin and the MAC. They wanted to do a double header, and one of our guys had to leave, and we asked the fans, has anyone here played baseball? And this one guy said, I used to play in high school. We're like, well, come play second. You'll love it. And he was good.
So I think he had a blast.
Did he continue to play vintage, or was that?
No, he's from New Orleans.
Out of town. Yeah. He's like visiting family that weekend or something.
Well, there's always vintage baseball near wherever he lives.
We told him to look into it. He said he was more of a basketball guy, but he was athletic, man. He was making plays out there, making us look bad.
I mean, sometimes that is a critical way, like to be able to get that family. One of the most popular guys on our team who retired a few years ago was a fill-in for a team from Akron, Ohio that came up, and one of their guys had to go home, and here's this guy who's like, I think he was 6'7", 6'8", just a tall guy that played it once, hit really well, and enjoyed it. And we kind of snuck in and be like, hey, Dearborn is a lot closer than Akron. Would you like to, be for? And he was a great ambassador for a team. So, I mean, there's no shame. It happens to the best of us. It would be fantastic if every team had a solid 12 that traveled everywhere at every point. But you know what? Life happens. Families happen. Kids happen. Stuff, that sort of deal. So good on you guys
Softball.
for for
Really important softball events happen.
Mhm.
You know,
If anybody couldn't make a vintage baseball game for a softball game, they're cut immediately. And I would exercise my role as co-captain and veto that. But yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about this year with the potential recruitment we have. As Taylor mentioned, we've had more interest this year than in the previous 2 years. And if 20 guys are interested and 6 of them stick around, then we're already coming out ahead of the game. So
it's funny to me, the different, oh boy, every time I bring this up, some knuckleheads get upset, but it's just different on the East Coast than it is in the Midwest. Baseball is just, it's just higher up on the pedestal on the East Coast, as it's still high in the Midwest. But Jeff, do you know what I'm talking about? There just seems to be a higher level of commitment by players on the East Coast than there is in the Midwest. And you can't sit here and talk bad about the ones in the Midwest because, like you said, there's family, there's things to do. Your wife is like, hey, you've done enough with the baseball. We got to go do something with the kids. And all of that makes sense. That's all real. I'm not downplaying it. But why doesn't that happen to the East Coast guys?
we care far less about our families.
You know, Drew,
Well,
I was
Matt.
I was going to go in a different direction and ask you guys, is it because the families care more about baseball?
I think that's probably more accurate.
Yeah, the families come to the games, and all of our wives, girlfriends are friendly, and we have barbecues and stuff when we're not playing vintage baseball over the winter. We hang out. We implemented like a bat girl and boy for the game thing so that like the kids can be involved. We try to play catch with the kids before the games and make it a family friendly thing. You know, that's what this is all about. It's entertainment at the end of the day, not just for us, but for the people that show up. And yeah, that's fascinating. I don't know why that is.
If I could throw a theory out here,
Sure.
I kind of look at it from the standpoint that I think there is far more travel on the East Coast than there is in the Midwest. It is not unheard of for, like say the Connecticut Bulldogs, for example, Chuck's team out there in Connecticut, to, one weekend have a game against, the Providence Grays out in Rhode Island, and then have a game, a weekend later in Massachusetts, and then the next weekend have a doubleheader at home in Connecticut, then go to New York, then have something in New Jersey, then have something in Philadelphia. Just it feels like there is far more travel opportunities that necessitates more of a commitment, as opposed to us here in the Midwest, where we've got 15, 20 teams within half an hour. And as a result, there's more there. Not saying it's good or bad, whose is better than the others. I think it is just different. It just feels like a different kind of vibe to it. I like I said, I watched the Atlantics when they came to Frankenmuth, and they were very much like a congealed group, a true group of families and friends and all that. So I think, Taylor, you have a lot of merit with what you say there, and I've seen it, in other spots. I just think there's far more traveling on the East Coast that kind of breeds into the vintage baseball culture of there being, travel is an important part.
Amen. Let me ask you guys a question. I'll ask you both the same question. You guys have some time under your belts now, a little bit. You've traveled around. We'll start with Taylor. Give me a place that you enjoy playing the most away games at, and tell me the place that you haven't gotten a chance to play at yet on the East Coast that you're looking forward, or doesn't have to be on the coast, but within a reasonable amount of distance that you could see yourself scheduling in the future, a place you haven't been able to go yet.
Well, Delhi's got a really special field in Hamden. Their field is like one of the oldest, potentially oldest baseball fields on the continent. And when you drive into the little town of Hamden, there's these cool pennants and banners up about vintage baseball, and the whole city is just really bought in to it's called Crawford Field, and being able to play a game there was really special. Um, Bovina has a gorgeous field as well. Playing them still stings a little bit because they usually win by about 20. They are very good, but their field is gorgeous. A couple places I'd like to play. It'd be cool to play a game in Cooperstown. I know they sometimes have vintage baseball games, and it's not far from us at all. And I'd love to go to the big Gettysburg tournament. We've heard about it for the last few years. Haven't been invited yet. We got to build a little more of a track record as a squad, but I'd love to go to that big tournament and meet the rest of the teams, and yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah, the bigger the better when you got that many teams involved and you get to meet all the new clubs. It's almost like a networking situation where your schedule looks a whole lot different the year after you go to one of those big events. And so I know that the Gettysburg people put on a great show, and I'm sure that your name will appear in that in the future, as it's not standard fare every year. Drew, same questions to you, my friend.
Same questions, very similar answers too, I'm afraid. I really do like the field out in Fleischman's. I think it's got a nice charm to it. Playing against the MAC is always a fun time. The favorite place that we have played a game at, and we only played there one time, was I believe that place in Goshen where we played. What was it, the Historical Society or the Library, Taylor? But they
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
a whole inside setup with multiple rooms with different displays and artifacts and the history of baseball and the county and the state going back to its inception. And we played in the field behind the building, which was basically just a patch of grass. There was trees in the outfield. We threw some hay bales down for a backstop, and it was great. I had a wonderful turnout from the town. A beautiful town to drive through down in Orange County. Playing out in Cooperstown would be a fun time. That's a bucket list. And yeah, that Gettysburg tournament just wets my whistle. I'd love to take a crack at that.
If I could plug a game that we have scheduled this year that I'm super excited to play too. We've got a game against Socrates at it's called the Old Aerodrome. It's
Yes.
it's a place in Rhinebeck, New York. It's right across the river from us, and they fly vintage planes out of there. They do like air shows, and they invited us to play a game on the runway. Um, one it's July 19th. It's actually a Friday. So it'll be a Friday after work, and we'll be playing a game like on this vintage airplane runway surrounded by cool vintage planes. So that'll be a riot.
Is that game not on your official schedule that you released? Was that an add-on?
That will be on the schedule. We haven't officially released our 24 schedule yet, but that game's confirmed.
Oh, I must have looked at the 23 schedule. I apologize.
Yeah, stay tuned. That I'm glad they actually reached out to us too. That's another good thing that's happened this year. More places are reaching out to us to play games at their sites instead of like soliciting uh, this idea to people.
Well, that only means better things in the future for your club. I would recommend, although you don't like playing the overhand fast pitch, then you guys did say that you try to get in one a year just for the experience. I would keep doing that. I would take your lumps, take your losses, and but still keep doing that because you're going to grow and you're going to come across some skilled players that are really going to gravitate to that. and you haven't yet, and you will. And to know that you have that in your back pocket for them to keep them interested, that'll only help. So, well, playing different rules and everything, that's fun. I guess it might not be fun if you're always losing, but I don't know.
Well,
there are
hold on,
times.
Matt.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, though, there's definitely been times when we've kind of had to come to a compromise before the game on what rule set we're going to play. We're going to play the 1860s. We're going to play the fast pitch overhand, and usually we'll split the difference, and sometimes we'll do 7 and 7, where we'll play a 7-inning match of underhand, and then we'll take a little break. We'll explain why we're about to switch the rules up. We'll explain what the differences between the decades are, and then we'll do another, 7 or 8 or however long it goes until it's an absolute shellacking, to sort of give people a sense of the evolution of the game, satisfy both teams' itch to play the game they want to play, and kind of give everybody a little bit of their cake to eat.
Yeah, I mean, they to go to the point. Yeah, I mean, butt whoopings happen sometimes, unfortunately. But there's a great book by Peter Morris called Baseball Fever, and in it there's a chapter literally called "The Patience of Hope," and it was this idea that new teams would get their butts handed to them for a few years, but progressively they would get better. And what we found for our team that restarted in 93, 92, 93 or so is that, we took some lumps as well from some of the more established teams in Ohio. And as we did that, we had visitors that would come watch our games, and a few of them said, I can do it better than that guy. Like, I can play better than that guy. Geez. And they reached out. Some of the older generation, or the ones that were not really, their hearts were in it, left. And some of those guys that said, I can do it better, have been doing it better, ever since then. So sometimes there is value in the butt whoopings.
Yeah, our first year, I'll never forget our very first game. We played Bovina, and Nick, the captain, came up before the game and he said, "Hey, no offense, you're not going to win a single game this year. This is how it goes. This is your first year of vintage baseball. Don't expect to win a single game." And sure enough, we didn't. We got beat every game. And last year was the Saugerties vintage baseball team's first year. So we had to make sure that they didn't win a game, because it seems to be tradition that first year you can't win a game.
Being told anything by Nick from Bovina has got to be kind of scary. That's a large person.
Their whole team, when they got out of the car, we were like, oh my God. Okay, here we go. A farm strength, man. You can't compete with it unless you've been training for a while.
So Taylor and Drew, we're going to give you guys a couple of minutes to take a break. We're going to do our news break with Jonathan McLean after Jeff is obviously scoring cartwheels right now. Wrongly, probably.
Well, we've established at the top that his scoring method's appalling.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's brutal.
And, she was informing me that she was at her school fundraiser at a roller skating party, and she won fastest skater in her age group. So you all can just shut your damn mouths.
Hey, we haven't been talking about roller skating, but did she shoot the duck? Did she shoot the duck, Jeff?
No, she did not shoot the duck.
Bad scores once again. So Jeff's getting Jonathan ready for this news break. I did want to throw out there that the gentlemen, Taylor and Drew, have brought up some people and some clubs that we have interviewed here on the show. So if you're listening to this episode because you're involved with the Kingston Guards or affiliated with them, or you like them, or whatever, Saugerties have been on the show. Colin Miller's been in multiple episodes. Nick Franson from Bovina has been on an episode. If you go back in the archives, we have a lot of East Coast people, as well as Midwest, as well as West, as well as South. We've done Florida. We've done everywhere. I'm still trying to get that club from Canada, Jeff. I can't get a hold of the damn club from Canada. What is it? They won't even say no. I just can't get a hold of them.
The actives are a
Uh,
fun bunch. They used to bring beer to our games because one of the guys worked at Molson. Back
so
back
if
when bringing
anybody,
beer to a game was a novelty as opposed to the standard.
so if anybody out there can get the actives to come on this show for an episode, we will then in turn interview anybody you want. If you can get the actives on the show for an episode, we will then interview anybody you want to be on the show for an hour. That's a good trade right there. It's the only trade I got. That's all I got. I don't have things. Okay, here we go. Sports break. Jonathan McLean, take it away.
This is your Roller Out the Barrel news break for Tuesday, June 6th, 1865. I'm Jonathan McLean. Dateline, Hoboken, New Jersey. One of the best contested and most interesting games was played on the Elysian Fields today between the Gotham Baseball Club of New York and the Enterprise Baseball Club of Brooklyn. This was a game so good that it took 13 innings to determine a winner. I've watched 60 minutes and I'm saying they're motivated. The Gothams may have been confident of victory, but it was the Enterprise 9 who jumped out to an 11-3 lead after 3 full innings. Realizing they must play harder to secure the ball, the Gotham squad fought back, rallying from a 5-run deficit in the 9th inning and then holding the Enterprises scoreless to force extra innings. The teams were tied at 17 after 9 full innings, and there it remained until the 13th, when the Brooklyns put 1 across, but the Gothams secured the day with 2 to take the win by a final score of 19-18. Mr. McGraw had a rough game for the Gothams with no runs scored and 8 outs made. The Enterprise Club had a strong balance of production with every member of their team scoring between 1 and 3 runs. They are looking forward to the return game at Bedford, Long Island. Reporters could not recall a finer game ever played as the pitching and catching was on alert and the outfielders did not display any muffinism. Colonel Fitzgerald of the Athletic Baseball Club of Philadelphia served as umpire and was commended for his prompt, sound, and impartial judgments. Today's news break is brought to you by Brown's Castilian Bitters. Would you like to be free of dyspepsia, acidity, indigestion, headache, constipation, seasickness, fever, malaria? Try Brown's Castilian Bitters, making sure to keep up with God's most noblest work, the woman. I'm Jonathan McLean, and this has been your Roller Out the Barrel news break.
Malaria! I can't wait. I can't wait to get you just say malaria like that and just use it as a drop in the future. Malaria!
Isolate that audio. That's going in the intro.
It's gonna happen. Jen, once again, I want to thank you for being on the show. We're not ready to let you out of here just yet, but I just want to make sure I get that in there because I am not a professional. Hey, you guys have only been doing this a couple of years, but I'd like to hear about any injuries you guys have had to suffer through. Let's start with Taylor. Have you been hurt on the field yet?
Not officially. No, something happened to the hand last year, but it was fine. Our first year we had a guy trip on his way to second base and broke his collarbone, and then our third baseman broke a finger. But I think that's really it. The gentleman who broke his collarbone had to sit out last year, but he said he's back in this year, so that's good to hear. We got another player joining us again. Dutch has had a little more scrapes and bruises than I have. He could probably answer it better than I can.
Well, we mentioned our first game we played against Bovina, and I happened to be playing that game with 4 broken ribs at the time. So that was not necessarily a baseball-related injury, but it certainly made facing them on the field a lot harder than it should have been. I've gotten brained in the head with the ball trying to steal third, successfully stealing third. Taking a couple spills in the outfield. You know, I'm more than willing to throw myself on the ground if it means catching the ball. But thankfully nothing lasting and nothing that some Advil, some arnica, and a hot soak didn't fix a couple of days later.
We got a great picture of Dutch after he took one to the chin, and you could actually see the vintage stitching.
Oh, I
his
forgot
chin.
about that even. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
I learned why you don't catch the ball like this. I'm making a gesture with my hands, which is really great for an audio medium, but keep your hands under the ball, players. Otherwise it'll slip through your fingers and knock your teeth out almost.
I was actually present in a game in Saginaw where a gentleman, I don't know if I should say his name. Anyway, he got hit in the face with the ball, and the threads did show up on his face. He was actually knocked out for, I want to say, 10 seconds.
Oh.
And came to, and there were the threads, and that was weird. That was wacky.
Part of the game.
So you
Mhm.
do you still have a scar of threads on your face, Drew?
Oh no, I don't. I didn't grow the beard to hide the scar. I just it's wintertime in New York and it's practically a necessity.
Chicks dig scars. Jeff, before we give these guys the old pepper, do you have another question you want to give them?
I guess I just kind of wanted to build on the. Actually, no, I do want to talk about the community aspect. As somebody who has done community games as well. Tell us about, what is it like trying to do, games at events that are not specifically baseball related? Like, have you run into that yet? And what is the reception? Because I got a great story from the first time I ever did that, but what is your takes from those?
We haven't had a game like that yet. We're trying to schedule a game at the Ulster County Fair this year to get that experience. We're really trying to tie ourselves into more community events that are going on. We're fortunate that our home field is right next to it's called the Catskill Mountain Railroad. It's a vintage train from the same era that we play. And so there's always people on the train that show up to take this vintage train, and they get to see a vintage baseball game from the same era, and we have the cool like train horn. So it's a good group of history people, but to your question specifically, we haven't had that opportunity yet.
Do you find it hard as like as history guys? You've said multiple times that you're a very history first group. Do you find it hard to face teams that either don't have that kind of history influence, or maybe they're the guys that are wearing the smart watches in addition to their vintage baseball uniform? Is there a little part of you that dies every time you see that or face that, or is it not not a common thing?
It's really hard to eliminate all anachronisms from what we're doing, especially in the era that we live in, where like social media matters so much and like growing the brand. Uh, so we don't have guys that have smartwatches and stuff, but we do like let
Good.
players that wear glasses wear their glasses. I'm fine with it. So I do other types of reenacting, like Rev War reenacting is really big in our area, and it's par for the course. We kind of in reenacting in general treat any anachronism as a learning experience. So like even our uniforms are not accurate to the era that we play necessarily. Our uniforms are really like 20 years too late. But it's a cool chance for us to like tell the fans that show up when we're chatting with them, like why this isn't accurate, and if we were really wearing 1860s era uniforms, they wouldn't have the stitching up here and so on. So it doesn't bother me that much. I know it bothers other people more. I don't know about you, Dutch.
Well, we did get a stern talking to, and I won't say from who, but let's just say it's somebody that we've talked about on this podcast so far. We definitely got lectured on not drinking out of mason jars and milk bottles. The Gatorades on the bench were a bit of a trigger for some, but we'd like to toe the line and split the difference a little bit, like Taylor was saying. you got to show up with a bag, and if your bag says Adidas on it, then
Hide it.
tuck it behind a tree.
Well, at least there's effort being made. That's all.
We're trying. We find it's especially hard with the shoes. It's really hard to find vintage cleats and so on. So we're still trying to figure that out. We basically just make guys paint their shoes to a solid color to give the aura.
That's all we do over here. That's
just
all
spray them black.
Is a
spray them brown.
Black shoes. We actually,
Jeff, I want to hear what happened with you though. You said you had a story about
we were playing in Ypsilanti, which is the city just outside of Ann Arbor where University of Michigan is. And we were playing at their annual festival, and we were on a very strict time crunch. And then we got told about 15 minutes early that we were getting cut because we got bumped for a dog show.
Like a dog stunt show, or like a Westminster Prancing type of thing?
Like a Westminster kind of thing. Not one of like the cool, not like the border collies or the Aussies that are doing agility. Like, no. We got bumped for like parading poodles around, what was second base became where the Havanese got taken around. So.
Brutal.
Jeff, we've never talked about that. The last year I did the Michigan Vintage Baseball Festival in Frankenmuth, we had a bunch of stage presentations and all kinds of stuff all set up in the kind of like the communal area of the River Place shopping area next to where we were playing, and we got bumped for a dog show. All my presentations went away, and even the ALS tent that was there to raise money for ALS got bumped for dogs. It was great. Never went back. Anyway.
I think we may have had a dog run out on the field once or twice, but that's never done. It's never stopped the whole show.
No. You haven't lived till you got bumped by a dog show, I guess.
It's true. It's true.
You're on your way to making it when your dog shows are bumping you.
You actually know that you passed making it, and you're on your downward spiral when the dogs are bumping you.
The comeback tour is not coming back.
It's a sign. It's a sign of, well, you were all right. Okay. Jeff, are you ready? I'm going to give questions to Taylor. You're going to give questions to Drew.
I'm ready.
The old pepper. You are ready? I will start with Taylor. Here we go. Short answers, guys. We'll circle back around if we find something that we have to talk more about. Taylor, who's your favorite wrestler growing up?
Mankind. Or Mick Foley.
Yeah, we got to circle back to that one.
Jeff, you're going to hit Drew with one.
Right. Drew, what is the best card-based game?
Best card-based game. Regular deck or like Magic the Gathering?
Oh, anything that has cards.
You lose
that has cards. Hold'em. Texas Hold'em.
Taylor, on a scale of 1 to 10, you were taught algebra in high school. How have you used it in your life since high school? Scale of 1 to 10.
Weirdly, 9.
Oh.
We can circle back to that too if you want an explanation.
Do I want to circle back to algebra or Magic the Gathering? This is a tough choice. Let's keep going.
Drew, what's the first thing you do after a baseball game that you played in?
Drink a beer if I can.
Taylor, what's the last Halloween costume you wore?
Jack from Titanic.
Is this a true story?
Yep.
That's definitely coming back. Well,
I think we're going to need to have a part 2 of this podcast to unpack Taylor's answers.
Are we talking?
Algebra. We're coming back to.
Are we talking third class?
No, Jeff.
Sorry. Drew, non-baseball trophy that you wish you could win.
Bowling. No hesitation.
Taylor, what's your drink of choice for St. Patty's Day?
Oof, boy. Reluctantly Guinness.
I'm with you. I'm with you, brother.
Drew, you're leaving tomorrow. What country that you've never been to are you headed to?
Japan.
Taylor, what's your
Man.
favorite spice? Girl.
Oregano.
Yeah.
Curveball.
All right. No,
Drew.
we'll go with oregano.
Oregano.
Oregano's an
Drew. Oh, there's a difference. Drew, the National Pizza Council is meeting. What topping are you telling them they must eliminate?
Ricotta cheese.
Taylor, construct your favorite sandwich.
Oof. Oh. This is a tough one. Real tough one. Grilled cheese. Does that count?
Oof.
It's
Jeff,
Specify the cheese and we'll take it.
It's a sandwich.
It's a sandwich. Cheddar. I'm not a big sandwich guy.
Have faith in your answers, my friend.
I'm not a sandwich guy.
Who's not a sandwich guy?
Drew, animal that isn't a normal pet, but you would have one if it was.
Fox.
Nice.
Well, he's really going after these. Taylor, bark like a dog.
Woof.
Go ahead. Bark. Come on. That was it. Negative
That's-
points on that one. Too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Boy,
Arf.
you're gonna...
Yeah. The dog show we got bumped from sounded just like that.
Arf or what roof? What?
Can I
ARF. Yeah.
can I ask, was getting bumped by a dog show really rough?
Oh,
Mute him. Mute him.
I'm kicked off the podcast. I'm not allowed back.
no. I think I love you in a man-to-man kind of way.
You know what?
I
I
think
think we could be bros, dude.
I think we just became best friends. We should do karate in the garage or something.
You want to jam on some Rush later?
Drew, conspiracy theory that you either think is real or wish was real.
Does MK Ultra count? Because that's totally real.
Go for it.
Taylor, name a prize you've gotten in a box of Cracker Jacks.
Like a temporary tattoo of like the Cracker Jack logo.
Okay. Jeff.
Drew, what was the first baseball hat you remember wearing?
Probably Detroit Tigers.
My man.
Last question, Taylor, elevator or escalator?
Escalator.
You had more faith in that one than the grilled cheese answer.
That's the easier question.
They can never
Right.
break. They can just become stairs.
Exactly.
The utilitarian. All right, Drew, last one. Living or dead, what famous
Dead.
person
Oh.
No. Living or dead, what famous person would you want to go to a party with?
I'm going to keep it baseball related. I'm going to say Rube Waddell.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
I think that.
Okay, Jeff, you're going to circle back around and talk to Drew about one of his answers, but we know where I'm circling back around to talk to Taylor. There's no, if you listen to the show, everybody knows where I'm going back to.
Is it the Titanic one? Because I want to go back to the Titanic one.
We
I
are
think it's the
going back to the
wrestling one. I think it's,
Titanic.
I was gonna say, was it the wrestling one?
No,
Because I want to go back to the
it's
Titanic.
not.
Okay.
It's not. We're going back to the Titanic. Tell us about your costume and how it was received.
Oh man. It was received well. My wife, I mean, I'm a big Titanic fan too. It's a great film, great story, great historic
Here, here.
moment.
Here,
We
here.
were Jack and Rose post being frozen. So we had these
Ah,
icicles hanging off us and stuff, and we basically had the clothes already, so we just needed like to look like we were frozen. So it was a pretty easy lift for us, but it was received well. People surprisingly knew who we were immediately, and it was a good time.
Too soon.
Taylor, you ever play a drinking game of every time you hear the name Jack or Rose, you have to take a drink
I not yet.
during the movie? Don't do it. Please, for the
It's a
sake of
long movie.
sanity, for humanity.
Especially right at the end where she's like trying to get him to wake up when
Rose,
he's,
Taylor,
been
just like Jack.
sitting in
there.
the. Am I? Yeah, it's like that last few
They
minutes.
say each other's names constantly during the whole movie. I love the movie. I love the movie. I hate how many times they say each other's names. It's brutal. Jeff, what did you want to circle back around with Drew?
I mean, no, I love all his answers. I wouldn't. I don't think I would change anything. There were several. I got several he got several my mans out of me.
Hey,
And so you do that, and you got it was. I was a little rough skating with Magic the Gathering, but I think you
that was
finished
a
strong.
clarifying
slow
question.
start.
That was a
That was a
clarifying
slow start.
question.
That's fine. No, man. That's
I'm not here to talk about my green beatdown deck. I just wanted to know what kind of cards you were talking about.
Well, after that slow start, yes, Drew, I believe we can declare you the winner as Taylor lost me at grilled cheese. So
Oh,
we went,
I'm the new
They're great,
captain.
Matt. They're so good.
but you didn't construct it, Taylor.
It's the day after
You didn't
Thanksgiving leftover
construct it.
sandwich.
That's a good one.
Okay, valid.
That's a good one. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you.
Yeah. I'd love
This
to talk to you guys
crazy
again.
little thing we do. We look forward to your schedule that's going to be released as opposed to somebody who would look up last year's schedule. Amateur.
Stay tuned.
But sounds like you guys have the passion. And Drew, you're my new best friend, so I obviously will be keeping track of your season.
We'll be in
make
touch,
sure-
Barrel Roller.
Make sure everything goes okay, and I can't wait for baseball, man. You guys are probably itching. Jeff, you're itching. I don't even play anymore. I'm just back here behind this computer.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we got a Detroit Tigers ass beaten already, so we feel like our season's in full swing.
These games don't count, Jeff.
Oh yeah, we just burn the stats. They don't matter.
The Tigers are going to be the wild card team this year. I don't know if you've been aware of this. They're going to do much better than the Yankees. Are you guys Yankees fans or Mets fans?
Yankees.
I have a complicated relationship with both of those teams.
Hey, Zach Short is from Kingston. I know he's not a Tiger
Hey,
anymore, but he was our guy.
the Zach Short. All right.
Kingston High School grad. Where if it doesn't make it in the pros, we're gonna try to get him on the Guards.
He was born there, but is he coming back there? Does he live there right now?
This place has a weird way of magnetically drawing people back to it after a certain amount of time. This whole Hudson Valley is a vortex of.
He got picked up by the Mets. He's back.
He's
Just
home.
like Titanic, we're going back. All right. Thank you guys